Hello. Welcome to Tough Crowd. You know, folks, in the middle of serious economic problems, Congress is once again focusing on useless, feel-good propaganda like the new hate crimes legislation, where they will include sexual preference and gender to add extra time onto your sentence. You know, any slick criminal is going to get around this law. I got jumped the other night by some kids. This is true. While they were kicking my ass, the leader handed me a card that said, "This gang does not discriminate based on race, ethnicity, or sexual preference. We abide by the EEOC and both our gang members and our victims. If you feel you were discriminated against during the commission of this assault, please call this number." You know, the crime's supposed to be less because they tell you not to take it personally. But you know what? That doesn't give you less stitches at the hospital. The amount of time people get in jail should be based on the amount of stitches you gave somebody, okay? Every 5 stitches in another 2 years. How is this not a thought crime? Yeah. All my bits come out eventually. It takes years, but they come out, and that was one. Now listen. Jimmy, by the way, I know you're part German. Have any of this Danish or whatever? I know you guys like that kind of.
Too,
you
so
like
that
kind of breakfast in the Germanic community.
I like
you guys
that you mix tomatoes in there. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know.
That normally goes together.
I didn't
tomatoes and cookies.
Delicious.
I don't know what that was. Maybe symbolic of, I don't know, your half Italian heritage.
I am, yeah, sure.
Well, folks, let me tell you something. There are no hate crimes. There are no like crimes. Everything's a hate crime. I'd rather be beaten up because I was white than be murdered by somebody who was my race just because it was a random act, yes? So the point is, can you measure or prove feelings? Greg?
I'm torn on this because on the one hand, there is an Orwellian thought crime element to all this hate crime legislation. On the other hand, I have no problem with hate crime laws if they're used mostly to prosecute black people.
Todd, I get the feeling you'd like to respond to that.
Yeah, that's why we always whooping white people's ass. That right there. You know, I mean, I really want to whoop Greg's ass right now.
I believe it.
Yeah, I do. I mean,
that is the case with these laws. There's like misperceptions of what the hate crime laws are. But
yeah,
they're neutral, and that's why I was sort of kidding about the prosecuting mostly black people.
Don't back down to now.
But the point is that they apply equally. So it doesn't create protected classes. It says if you choose your victim based on their sexual orientation or their race, that you get extra penalties. So it applies across the board.
You know what, Todd? Go ahead.
So you can potentially be charged for 2 crimes. If you mug someone, they could call it a hate crime. And really, actually, to avoid that, what you should do probably is announce what your intentions are before you mug someone and say, "I'm not mugging you because of your color or your gender or your sexual orientation."
You get mugged because you're in the wrong damn place at the wrong time.
2 things. One, did you just steal my monologue? What were you doing? You stole my monologue.
We weren't paying attention, Colin.
You were not paying attention to me. That's exactly almost to the word what I said in my monologue.
Nobody gets a crime.
You're kidding me.
Sounded just as good the second time.
It sounds better when you say
I can't hear you. No, I couldn't hear you.
Why not?
Because you're Irish and everything sounds like you start speaking another language.
You hear it.
It's all
Todd, let me tell you something else before you start Greg, I can't believe you're going to let him get away with that.
All right,
you certainly weren't back in that when it was Dennis Leary. Now tell this son of a bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to start a fight. Listen, guys, here's the bottom line. I guess I should say something after that. But what about a crime like rape? Rape is always a hate crime, so why would that be different?
Whoa, rape is not a hate crime. Rape is a crime of violence. You don't hate somebody you raping. It is
you don't hate somebody you're violent with?
No, I mean you're not hating them. It's violence.
You're just hating not
what's
having
the difference
sex.
In violence?
You can't listen. A crime like rape, assault, any of those things. Those are crimes based on if you do them, you go to jail. There's no extra time because you go. I rape you because you white. Or I rape you because you're Puerto Rican. I rape you.
Is a crime. Is a
violence.
Hate
but it's
crime
a good
against
old-fashioned
women.
crime, though. And it's not always against women, right? In prison, they do it to men.
Yeah.
And they look right at the black guy like, yeah, you would know, wouldn't you?
Well,
all right, in prison,
it's the white guys that get raped in prison. Let's face the facts. The white guys, despite every movie.
Well, then take some Taebo classes before you commit crime.
Now listen to me. Last year, a man in Idaho was sentenced to 7 days for shouting the N-word at a black man who was accosting his wife. Now, nigger is an ugly word, but let's face it. In the past 10 years, black culture has used it so widely and openly, and the whites that support that culture, want to sing and use the songs. It's a little unnatural for like kids to go. It all started with NWA. They'd have to go to the record store and point out the albums. I want that one. Who's that? You know, the one with Eazy-E, the Straight Outta Compton. And they can never say the name of the album. Don't you think that it's a little strange to have a word? If that's an ugly word, you shouldn't be used, fine. But isn't it a little weird that 10% can use the word and 90% can't, even though it's all over everybody's lyrics and every other show? You know what I mean?
No. Because,
don't you think that's strange?
Because they're black.
No, this is
get to use the word, right?
No, this is the actual problem, right? It's like y'all mad because you made the word up and you can't use it no more. You abused your privileges when you were using it. That's simple. You abused your nigger privileges. You have no more nigger privileges.
To me, first of all, that law in Idaho that you're talking about is unconstitutional. You can't. You can't be disallowed to use certain words. That's just the way it is. But besides that, the most shocking thing about that case was that there are black people in Idaho.
That's a good point.
No, this is what it actually is. Why black people do not want you to use the word nigga. One is because we mad at y'all from the stuff y'all did in the past. So we figured like, wait a minute, yeah, we mad at you for the stuff. There are some guys, let me say this, there are some guys out here that are niggas. But we don't, as black people, don't indiscriminately walk up to every black person and go, hey, nigga. I can't walk up to an old black guy and go, my nigga, without him shooting me, stabbing me or something.
But wait a minute.
No, you don't walk up there. You don't walk up to every white guy and go, what's up, cracker? Hey, Wop, what's going on, Mick?
Of course not, but don't act like it's not a frick.
Take it easy with the racial term. I'm half Italian.
And he's half German. That's why it's tomatoes and
German Irish.
Yeah. You know,
oh, look, we got to get the hell out of here, you guys. But don't worry, Act 2's coming up, and it's going to be quite interesting. Friends don't leave friends alone with these people. So you better stay on this. 15 states have adopted anti-bullying policies in an effort to teach kids how to confront gossiping, ridicule, etc. You know, four eyes, fatty, ugly, smelly, right? Now, what is the downside of this? First of all, less ass in the world. They're teaching kids to open up to the bullies and try and let them know how it feels. Of course, it's not the schoolyard pushdowns anymore. It's, you know, sexual assaults by 12-year-olds and like stabbings in the stairwell. You know, kids like, you know, when you emptied your clip into my science class, I felt unsafe. The question is this bad or good? Isn't school supposed to be where we learn how to take a little abuse, Jimmy?
I think it is, yeah. I mean, when I was in junior high school, there was a kid named Darren, and what he would do, he's one of those kids. No, he's Italian. He was bigger than the rest of us, and he was one of those kids who was comfortable being naked in, you know, and when you're just hoping to get a hair or two. And what he'd do in the locker room is you'd be sitting there by your locker. Is it okay if I stand? And he'd put his leg up here, and you're looking that way, like Todd, you're looking that way.
Did you not put your?
And then this is a valuable lesson to be taught. And then he would call your name with his penis in his hand, and you turn around, and you get a face full of Darren penis. But I did learn a valuable lesson from that. I learned not to be impulsive, and I learned that penises can sometimes be salty as well.
Could you put your balls on Greg the next time you do this?
Yes. I'll leave them in the green room.
Now, you know what, Colin? Actually, I think there's a lot of kids, too. They raising their kids kind of soft now. Kids, you know, they're getting raised by TV. They don't go outside. They don't play kickball no more. They don't play baseball. They don't play dodgeball. You got all these little fat kids running around eating Jolly Ranchers and Ho-Hos all day, you know, sugar higher than a 40-year-old diabetic. And then they sit up and when they go outside, kids tease them and they can't fight. They can't run. They can't, you know, get your kids active. Active kids.
That's actually human evolution, though, because now we don't really need, you know, you see kids, they really don't run, they don't do anything, they just sit all day behind a computer. You know, we're evolving, we're just becoming, eventually we're just going to be a giant ass with fingers.
But I think fat kids should be teased so they don't grow up with a false sense of confidence.
Yeah.
But don't you realize, God forbid I get serious, but like, not only the trench coat mafia, but that kid in Thomas Jefferson High School in Bed-Stuy, the reason he pulled out a gun was because he was getting bullied by a serious, hard-ass kid. So, I mean, a lot of these shootings are kids that are getting bullied, and they're like, you know, they're just going to go grab a gun and do it. You know what I mean? They're not thug kids that are pulling out these guns.
But you know who the crazy kids are in your school. There's no, you know the one that'll go, you know what, that one,
Yeah, the one who, like, in 4th grade had to go take a pill at a certain time every day. That's the kid you watch out
who the
for.
nutcases are. Those kids that walk around with the gothic look, and the whole white face paint and the Dracula coat, and you don't go. You go. That guy is going
those are the kids
kill
who
somebody
bully.
one day.
When I was a kid, let's face it, all comedians. Let's face it. Everybody here caught a couple of nice beatings, or we wouldn't become comedians.
Not me.
Now, shut up. Yes, you did. Now. And then later on, of course, we learned to bully other kids with our big mouths and our sense of ridicule. Now, that may sound harsh, but sorry. And this poor gentleman was raped by Joe or whatever that was.
Joe was fine.
And then he in turn described the rape vividly to me.
That was almost
by putting his scrotum on my shoulder.
It was almost a symbolic.
Now everybody on TV going, I saw you when the guy put his balls on your neck.
That's a good
We're
one.
a celebrity couple.
But I think it was almost a purification ritual for him, where he got finally cleared.
Yeah, finally I was able to take
like
my experience and thrust it onto you. And now you've got to do it. You've got to do the same. You can do somebody in the audience.
Let me put my balls on Greg.
Keep going.
Let's make this even.
All right, listen to this.
The black man's balls.
That's all I need is to have Cro-Magnon man rest his balls on my shoulder.
Listen to me. Now, what about these online things where they're spreading rumors, true or false, about the other kids? This one's a slut. This one slept with this one. This teacher's ugly. This is online bullying. What do you think about that?
Look, the reality
it's cowardly.
That's a lot of horse.
I do think that's cowardly, and I think, I grew up in a simpler time when arguments were settled with fists, and also love was made that way with fists.
She's from upstate New York. That's
I also think it's I feel like it's weak because, like, what would what are teenagers threatening each other with? Like, I dare you to look up www.colinquinsofcom. It's embarrassing. It's like,
there is because we didn't have that. We didn't have computers to go, hey, you suck online.
But there is a mean spiritedness to it that people are cowards. They hide behind. You see on the message boards, people hide behind this anonymity. People are willing to go on a computer and say things that they wouldn't say in person. You say things you would never say to another person, like, yes, I would like a thicker, longer penis.
Well, the other thing is when you get a lot of these, first of all, it's ColinQuinnBlows.com.
I told you not to check it out. Don't check it out.
I'm going to knock that kid out if I ever meet him. He's probably like 11 years old. I'll still stomp him into the ground. Oh, look, we have to show some commercials. Don't exercise your free will. Just sit there and we'll be right back. Folks, Colin Powell, as I call him, spent the weekend in Israel trying to figure out how to open the roadmap to peace without it blowing out the car window. He had brunch with the prime ministers of Palestine and Israel, and CNN is reporting that when the bill came, Sharon did the fake reach for the wallet. Now look, the press is always going to the Arab street to find out what's going on. They always go to the Arab street in the Arab countries. What about the Arabs here? The Arab street here, they're the ones that have to deal with this stuff. So we thought we'd go out and ask some Middle Easterners in this country if they had anything on their minds. Take it to the streets, I always say. So let's check out our first question in my new advice column.
Colin, as an Arab in America, sometimes people look at me like suspiciously. So what should I do to stop this?
You get a sweatsuit, some chains, an Escalade, and just people will look at you and go, relax, he's not a terrorist, he's just a drug dealer. Next.
If somebody yell at me in the street about Arabic people, about Osama bin Laden, what can I do?
So when somebody yells about Arabic people, of course you Osama bin Laden, you know what you do? When they say that, you just go, chinga tu madre, then they think you're Puerto Rican. Then, if they say kill Puerto Ricans, you go Zorba, they think you're a Greek. Then if they say kill Greeks, you go kill Greeks. I knew you were a Trojan, you scumbag. Next. Next, please.
Why many comedians make a joke about the Arab people?
The comedians make jokes about Arab people. It means you're accepted as part of the country. It's when they don't joke about you. When they don't joke about you, you gotta worry. Okay? Nobody ever made Indian jokes in the 1870s. Look what happened to them. Next.
Colin, it's hard to meet women. So how can I tell them that I'm a nice guy, not a terrorist?
Your first mistake is thinking women want a nice guy. They want a bad boy. They want a bad boy. They don't necessarily want a terrorist, but it's like a mafia. They don't like the mafia guy, but they want you to be connected. So, like, you bring your girl over to your house, throw out the old playing cards with all the people, and just go, oh, 2 o'clock, my cousin's crazy. You never learn. Something like that. Next.
Where are you going to bomb next so I can tell my cousins?
That's a fair question, and I'd like to ask you the same one. You tell and I'll tell. Next.
Colin, why everybody here love Israel? Or maybe everybody support to Israel? Can you give me an answer?
He says, why does everybody here love Israel? Why do you support Israel? Well, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's like you guys with the Palestinians. You're in a relationship for so long that now if you leave when things are going tough, you look bad. You know what I'm saying? Next.
Colin, how can I hook up with a girl when they think Islam is oppressive to women?
How do you hook up with a girl when they think Islam is oppressive to women? Here's what you do. You get the Quran, you bring her over, you start reading it, and then you show her segments that you put in there, like an E. Cummings poem or Jeff Buckley lyrics. Maybe John Mayer, I mean, Body is Wonderland. They're going to think that's from the old days because nobody had the balls to write that after 1950, but apparently. Or you could go for like the political girls that want to like be bad and piss off dad. They want to get involved with somebody from the Middle East, You tell them some sob story about how corporations, when you were a kid, you knew it because Dick Cheney pulled up to your village in a Delta 88 Lincoln, and he slapped the village elders around. Next thing you know, you had the only mosque in the village with a Cinnabon on the side. I don't know. You had a Chili's in there, the Baby Macs. This is what I'm talking about. Now, see, folks, that's how it's done. You take a problem, you air it out. And remember something. It takes an entire village or a settlement or an occupied territory to raise a child. You know what I mean. We'll be right back. Folks, let me tell you something, folks. Racial slurs are taboo, and we are in desperate need of new ones. And who better to create them than tonight's panel of social engineers? So come up with a new derogatory term that describes any group of people. Jimmy?
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm so glad you're finally tackling race on this program. My group is midgets. The hardest time I have with midgets, they don't seem to like anything you call them. They really aren't happy with anything. And when they complain, they have high, squeaky voices that give you a headache. I've given this a lot of thought. I'm sensitive to the fact that they want to be called what they want to be called. So I made a huge list and I narrowed it down to 3 names. They can be called humanettes, halfies, and or people McNuggets. You make the choice, guys.
Okay, Laura Kightlinger.
You want to sit on my lap?
No, I want you to have the whole because
all right. Okay, first of all, I resent being forced to come up with a sniglet.
Ow.
Yeah. But here goes. Titwit. It's the tit-shaped candy in a bright pink box. No, titwits are those guys that don't make eye contact while they're talking to you because they're too busy staring at your boobs. And when you catch them, they ask,
what did your shirt say?
It says, I know you're staring at my chest, jackass. Thanks. It's made it a fun day.
It was great. Okay, Todd, Lynn.
Yeah, I personally like the slurs we have right now. Why make up something that means the same thing as nigger or redneck or wop? I like to know when I'm insulted. Heel nigger, black cracker, chink billy, none of these have the same effect as the good old slurs. I feel like if you want to call somebody a racial slur, do it. Just remember there's going to be either unemployment or a big ass whooping, depending on who you say it to.
All right. I like those 3, though. Pink, chink billy. Greg Giraldo.
I sat next to a guy in the subway yesterday who smelled like a decomposing flounder. I'd like to call him and people like him bassholes. Also, there seems to have been a wave of Asian guys acting like real pricks recently. From that psycho in North Korea to health officials in China to the kids who killed that bouncer here in New York. We should call these guys wok suckers. As in, hey, I got no problem with Asian people. I just don't like wok suckers. Listen, most Asians are all right. Like Mr. Miyagi, he's cool. But Ho Chi Minh, he was a real wok sucker.
Okay. There you go.
I guess we could have stopped early with the rest of
Now we'll go to me and then her later. All right. Mine would be For whites, you call them men without hops.
Wait, Colin, let me try that.
Okay, ready?
All right. For whites, let's just call them men without hops.
Blacks. For blacks, the movie ruiners. Latinos, Generation Mex. And the Asians, the tech supporters. Wow. You know what, folks? If we manage to not offend anybody, I'm sorry. Good night.